Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Spain for the first time in what feels like a good long while. Now there's some really great beers and breweries down in Spain, but for some reason over the last few months I just haven't really seen anything from there, and I'm not sure why, because usually there is a fairly steady supply of Spanish beers into Sweden. So I'm not sure exactly what's happened, but yeah, I just thought it was about time we did another Spanish review, and I do hope that I can get down there and explore at some point. Mainland Spain is somewhere that is definitely on my to-do list, if you like. But for this review we are going to return to a brewery that has featured on the channel a good couple of times before. I've had some very nice beers from these guys in the past. This will be review number 5 or 6 if I remember rightly from this brewery, so hopefully it's another good one. For this review then, we are going to head to a little place called Noáin, to the south of Pamplona in the northern part of Spain, and we're having a look at another beer from Naparbier. So this one is called the Green Blood. It comes in at 6.3% ABV, and it is another IPA. So yeah, I bought this beer as part of my English box that I got from the House of Trembling Madness's web shop. They're from York, down in England, and yeah, I thought this would be a really nice one to have a look at. Mainly the reason I got this one was because I haven't had anything from Naparbier in about a year. The last beer I reviewed from these guys apparently was the Slip Hop, which was another IPA, and yeah, we used to get these guys fairly regularly through Systembolaget, so I'm not sure exactly what's happened. But fingers crossed we start to get a few more Spanish beers up in Sweden at some point soon. Otherwise I'll need to figure out some way of getting a hold of them. But like I say, Spain is on my to visit list, and there is a follower down there, Eduardo, who actually studied in York, if I remember rightly, and he was offering to show me around Barcelona and things. So yeah, that's definitely something to do in the future, and hopefully I can sort out some more Spanish beers for you. I would love to get a hold of a Spanish web shop that sends to other places in the EU, so if you are watching from there and you know a Spanish beer shop that sends things out, do let me know, and I will see about making an order or two from there. I would love to get more Spanish beers from different breweries on the channel, of course, because I know there's some great stuff down there. But yeah, if you get the chance to try some Spanish beers, definitely do. They are absolutely very good. It always tends to be the case that when a wine country has a go at craft beer, they tend to do it very well, and Spain is no exception to that, of course. But yeah, nice to return to Naparbier after quite some time, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. So let's see how we get on then. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I've done from Naparbier before, and hopefully we can add more to that list in the near future. This is review number 5 or 6 as I mentioned, but there's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is that you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Spanish beers that I've reviewed for you, and that's being added to whenever I can, but not as often as I would like. But as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Naparbier then, on to my brewery notes. So Naparbier, as I've told you before, are based in Noáin in Navarro in Spain. This is just to the south of Pamplona. It is not in the Basque Country, Euskadi. I've made this mistake in previous reviews. This place is not in the Basque Country, but it was founded back, the company was founded back in 2009 by 4 entrepreneurs. So this is Juan Rodriguez, Josu Taniña, Chera Aestui, if I'm pronouncing his name right, and Jose Javier Rodriguez. But basically what happened was that the guys found themselves unemployed due to the economic situation, and so they decided to move forward with starting their own business. They started off with a small warehouse of only 150 square metres, and they had a very modest brewing capacity at this point, but they did very well. And then later on in 2012 they moved to a larger facility where they could produce 500,000 litres of beer per year. In the early days they did a number of collaboration brews with well-known breweries from Scandinavia, Mikkeller, Toul, all of these kind of guys, and then other European breweries as well. And this really helped them establish their reputation and get their name out there a little bit. These guys probably are one of the better known Spanish craft breweries these days, along with the likes of Garage and Edge and things like this. But in 2014 They expanded their brewery again, and they've now been joined by 2 more partners. So this is Alex from Madrid, and then Sven Bosch, who's from Barcelona. He's involved in the Beer Cab bar, and over the last few years they've continued to expand the brewery and increase their exports. And as of January 2021, when I'm filming this review for you, they've produced around 135 different kinds of beer, according to Untappd. But yeah, that's all the information I could really find on these guys for the moment. It would be awesome to go and have a look at this brewery in person. If I could, I would love to just, you know, go on a road trip and explore all of Spain. It would be nice to go and live down there for a little while, actually. Learning Spanish is one of my kind of longer term goals, actually, but at the moment, of course, I need to focus on finishing off my Swedish and my Japanese. But Spanish would be the next, it would be one of the next languages that I'd be quite interested in. So it would be quite cool to go down there and you know, work a little bit, but I'm not sure how possible that is. But yeah, it would be awesome to go down there and meet these guys and do a Meet the Brewery interview or something like that. And you know, to do some of these in Barcelona, I think could be very interesting as well. Barcelona, I've heard, is the main beer city in Spain these days. Catalonia is a very beautiful place, of course, too. But I heard some of the other cities are getting some really good stuff these days as well. But yeah, as I say, Spain is on my list. I would love to learn a little bit of Spanish and go down there. I also want to go to South America, so that's another motivation for the Spanish, of course, too. But yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Naparbier for the moment. These guys do some pretty awesome beers in my experience. I think most of the ones I've tried, if not all of them, have been on the lighter end of the spectrum. So I need to see about trying a few more darker beers and things like that from Naparbier and the other Spanish breweries. I think most of the stuff I've reviewed from Spain, come to think of it, has been at the lighter end of the spectrum, but that's not surprising when you consider that it's a pretty hot country. So yeah, definitely need to review more Spanish beers and some things, some different styles from Spain as well. But yeah, if you want to learn more about Naparbier, you can check out the brewery website, you can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all the different beers that these guys have done. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this beer then. So you can see the artwork on this beer is very, very distinctive. I'll just let you have a little look at that quickly. The artwork on these cans is now designed by Javi Forna, or Xavi Forna. I'm not sure exactly how you pronounce the X in Spanish, but yeah, Xavi Forna. And the older artwork that they had was designed apparently by Antonio Bravo. But yeah, the artwork, very distinctive. This black lettering here is the main kind of symbol of of Naparbier. I'm not sure exactly what these little language things at the bottom mean. So if someone from the local area is watching, is this some kind of local dialect of Spanish or something? Irunaco Garagardoa, something like that. So yeah, not sure exactly what that means. But yeah, green blood. This one, as I say, it caught my eye just because of the name. And I noticed that this also has the Swedish import thing on the side. So I wonder if this beer will appear in Sweden at some stage. But yeah, I need to keep an eye out. I will make sure that any Spanish beers that come out through Systembolaget in Sweden, I will get those reviewed over 2021, that's a promise. I want to get more Spanish beers on the channel. You know, there's lots of countries I'd like to review more beers from, and it's not always possible, but Spain is definitely one of those. But yeah, 6.3% IPA, this one, as is usually the case with Naparbier. I'm not able to tell you what hops and things are in it, but I'm sure we can make a little bit of a guess as we try it. But yeah, 440ml can, this one. I think I paid like £5 or £6 for this beer, which is pretty decent for an export, or an import I should say, because it's coming in, it went into England. So yeah, it's not a bad price. And the House of Trembling Madness, as I said, they've got a great web shop there, and the English guys, the English beer tubers, tell me it's one of the best value ones that you'll find in England. But yeah, there was just a bunch of stuff that they had that I was really interested to try. And yeah, this one just caught my eye because I hadn't done a Spanish review in quite a little while. But yeah, that's the majority of the beer in the can. It's repositioned nicely, so we can have a little look at the appearance, and we'll put the rest of the beer in a little bit later. But yeah, as you can see, this beer, that is impressive. That's an impressive level of haze for a 6.3%er. Look at that. That's a very rich, bright yellow colour. I would compare this one to mango juice. I always like to compare my New England IPAs to different kinds of fruit juice, but yeah, this is a very, very bright yellow sort of mango juice colour, this one. Really nice and rich. You can see there's a solid finger and a bit of a frothy I would say this is a cream coloured head rather than a perfect white head, but one or two big bubbles sticking to the side of the glass. Just, you know, beer is very sensitive, and you know, even if you rinse the glass before, you're still going to get bubbles sticking to the side. But yeah, it looks like a lovely, lovely beer, this one. So yeah, certainly looks the part for a New England IPA. As I said, the haze on this is very impressive for a 6.3%er. That's pretty ridiculous. When you put the light through it, you're only getting little tiny bits around the edge. But remember, the level of haze you get in these beers is dependent on the oat and the wheat content. And theoretically speaking, as you go up the scale, you should get more haziness out of them, because, you know, more alcohol means more wheat and more oats. But it's not always the case. I've had triple IPAs that are nowhere near as hazy as this, but it certainly looks the part. It looks very nice, and you know, lovely bright yellow colour. The colour of your beer is dependent on 1, the type of malts that you use, and 2, the length of your boil. Usually these go through, New England IPAs are about a 70 to 90 minute boil, and yeah, the longer you boil the beer, the more the sugars caramelise, thus the darker colour you get, and the type of malts also plays a big role in that as well. But yeah, certainly looks the part for a New England hazy IPA, this one. So let's have a closer look at the aroma and just and see how we get on with this. I think it looks very, very nice, but nothing overly surprising about the appearance of this beer. So yeah, oh, that does smell very nice. Yeah, as I always remember from Naparbier, this is a really quite soft and juicy one. To me, this beer, I do wonder if this is a Vermont yeast in this, because it does have a wee bit. The first thing that jumps out at me is that this beer has a little bit of that woody sort of farmhousey kind of vibe to it. Yeah, almost reminds me a little bit more of some of the Alchemist IPAs. So yeah, there's a wee bit of a kind of woody farmhousey type thing going on in this one. But yeah, so yeah, white bready notes to this beer, absolutely. A little bit of a slightly doughy, yeasty kind of thing going on. As I say, a few woody, kind of grainy, crackery sort of things in the malt base there. If you take the aroma in a little bit more, you can smell a little bit of the bitiness of the wheat, but I think this beer leans a little bit more to the oaty side of things, to be honest with you. Yeah, this beer definitely leans a little bit more towards the towards that oaty end of the spectrum. But like I say, the yeast plays quite a big role in this one. So yeah, soft white bread in there, a little bit of a grainy, crackery sort of thing. Jacob's cream crackers, something like that. Yeah, Jacob's cream crackers, a little bit woody, some very, very nice, how would you say? Yeah, a little bit woody, a little bit kind of crackery and stuff like that, and just a few of those doughy kind of yeasty notes out of it. I'm pretty sure that's the yeast, but sometimes the hops, if the hops are a little bit older, they can sometimes contribute to that as well. But I think this one is more yeasty, to be honest with you. But yeah, the malty side of things, you definitely, the more that your nose adjusts to this one, you get some nice oats out of it. There is a little bit of that kind of Werther's Original kind of thing coming out of this beer as well. So yeah, absolutely, a little bit of Werther's Original, kind of butter candy type sweetness to this beer. Yeah, it's just got a little bit of that. But the malt base for me, it strikes me as being quite soft, white bready, and you know, a little bit more smooth and oaty, to be honest with you. So yeah, I really like how that goes together. This one could be quite interesting. As I say, it's been a year since I've had a beer from these guys, so that makes me curious. It is like it's almost like trying a brewery that you've not had before. So yeah, this should be quite nice actually. Yeah. So on the hoppy side of things, I think we've covered the malty side of the beer as well as we needed, to be honest. Yeah, few little woody notes coming out of it as well. But yeah, on the hoppy side of things, if we talk about the green component of the hops, for me, there's a nice little bit of floral character there. But you've also got a wee bit of a kind of brighter grassiness to this one too, which is nice. And I think the floral and grassy notes are fairly well balanced, to be honest with you. Neither of them becomes too punchy and starts to dominate the beer. So yeah, a little bit of floral aromaticity to the beer, some nice grassiness in there as well, and there's a little bit of a kind of there is a wee touch of a herbal earthy kind of thing coming out of it too. But on the fruity side of things, this one's quite interesting too. I wonder if it's Idaho 7 that's in this. There's just something telling me, and there's something familiar about this because of the 100 series Idaho 7 beer that I had from OO Brewing in Gothenburg. There's something telling me that it might be Idaho 7 that's one of the hops in here. There's just something very, very familiar about this. This beer is a very soft, tropical fruit leaning one. yeah, it's got these, it's got a little bit of that kind of passion fruity note to it, a little bit of an oily passion fruit, definitely some kind of mango and other stone fruity things in there. But yeah, those are the most pungent of the tropical fruits. It's got a bit of papaya, it's got, I wouldn't say apricot in this one, I don't get so much an apricot for this. I do get a kind of papaya and a wee bit of an almost kind of pineapple note. It's almost got a wee tiny bit of a peachy type vibe to it as well, which is quite interesting. So yeah, yeah, there is a few really interesting things going on in this one. There are a few really interesting fruity notes to this beer. So yeah, the fruits come across as quite bright and very juicy, but definitely kind of tropical leaning. There are one or two little citrusy notes to it, maybe a little bit of lime, wee bit of a kind of lemony note, but yeah, it's a very soft kind of tropical fruity note to this one. I really want to say that this beer is quite, I think some of the fruits in this could be coming from the yeast as well. I think the yeast is playing a fairly big role in this beer, but yeah, some of it comes across really nicely. There could be a little bit of cashmere or something in this, because it does almost just have a little bit of a kind of melony, lemony type vibe about it, and there's something familiar about this one. So there's something in my head that wants to say this beer might have a little bit of cashmere and a little bit of Idaho 7 to it. That would be a very interesting combination. I don't know if I've had those two hops on their own in a beer, but that could be a very, very interesting combination, come to think of it. But yeah, juicy and slightly oily tropical notes coming out of this one. Quite soft, but you've also got a little bit of you've also got just a little bit of a kind of lemon limey kind of character out of this one. So yeah, this is going to be a really, really interesting beer, I think. So take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one before you get stuck into it, but we're going to have a taste of this now and see how we go. So this one is the Green Blood, 6.3% New England IPA from Naparbier in Noáin in Navarro, to the south of Pamplona in Spain. Let's get stuck into this one. Slàinte, Skål, Salud. Oh yeah, that is pretty nice. That is pretty nice. It's got a wee bit of bite to it as well, which is good. Yeah, that's another really pretty solid beer from Naparbier. Absolutely, not surprised about this one in the slightest, to be honest with you. You know, these guys always did some really interesting stuff. The thing you're going to notice about this, though, I think, when you first take it in, this beer, it's got a mix of kind of smoothness and crispness to it. I think it could well be that my fridge is just a little bit too cold right enough. Might well be, but yeah, I think this one comes across. It comes across very, very nicely, actually. Yeah, I think this one, I'm not sure that this is at its peak freshness, if you like. I think it might be just getting towards the end of its kind of peak freshness, if you like, but it's still in good. It is still in good condition. We'll say that. And you know, House of Trembling Madness, they know their beers and they know how long to keep them and stuff. So yeah, this one, I do think it's still in good condition, but you can just feel it's getting slightly. It's getting towards the end of its prime, almost. It is getting towards the end of that. But yeah, this beer is, I think this beer is very, very solid. But the first thing that strikes me about this is a very drinkable, really quite crisp New England IPA. And I mean, that's, when Spain is as hot as it is, not surprised that the beer does have a level of crispness to it, but it is nicely done. So I'll say straight away, thumbs up to Naparbier. Let's try and break down the flavour a bit more and describe it then. So yeah, this beer in a way actually really reminds me of some of the Gamma brewing beers that I've had recently from Copenhagen in Denmark. It's got a similar vibe to it, to some of their, you know, 6.5%, 7% type beers, this one. Straight away, this one then, you can feel that nice kind of white bready base just blanket in the middle of your palate. It does develop a little bit more of a graininess the further you go into the aftertaste, which is quite nice. But yeah, you can feel a few little bready, grainy sort of things coming out of this one. So yeah, that goes together. It does go together very, very nicely in that sense. And you know, when, as I say, when the beer's from quite a hot country, you do want the beer to have a little bit of crispness. So you get a bit of graininess coming out of this one the further you go into the aftertaste. But yeah, middle third of your palate is quite crisp and quite bready in a sense. I don't get so much in the way of oaty character out of this one. Does this beer actually have oats in it? Yeah, it does. It actually does have oats in it. I wouldn't have guessed that, to be honest. I thought this one might... I thought, if anything, it could well have had a little touch of rye in it. But no. So yeah, the graininess does develop a little bit in this one as you go further into it. On the back third of your palate, you can feel the beer. It does have a little bit more of a grainy edge to it, and that's what would have made me think there was a wee touch of rye in this one. It just has a wee bit of an almost brown bready character on the back third of your palate. And as you go towards the very back of the tongue, it does have a little bit of a kind of brighter, it does have a little bit more of a kind of bitey, wheaty quality to it, if that makes sense. So I do like how that side of this beer goes together as well. Just a little bit more bitey wheatiness coming out of this one. So yeah, that's another really nice, pleasing aspect of this beer. But yeah, you can feel on that back third of your palate, it just thickens up a wee bit. The wheat actually, as you move further forward again on the palate, you can feel it just smoothens out a wee bit. And then as you go to that borderline between middle third and back third of your palate, there is just a wee bit of not, I don't want to say dryness, I want to just say kind of almost like sort of graininess coming out of the beer. There is just a little bit more graininess there, and then as I say, the thickness drops away, and in the middle third of your palate it's pale malt and it's a little bit more kind of crisp and grainy and stuff like that. But yeah, it goes together nicely. The middle third of your palate, the more you progress into the aftertaste, gets a little bit more kind of bread crusty. It gets a little bit almost more brown bready as well, actually, come to think of it. But yeah, I don't think the oats really show themselves that much in this beer. Maybe you get a little touch of them coming out later on. But I would say that overall, I think this beer, when it comes to the New England spectrum, you can get rye, oat, wheat, yeast, and then barley malt leaning New England IPAs. There's 5 different directions you can take this beer, and I would describe this one as being a little bit more barley malt and yeast orientated. It's a little bit leaning, it's leaning towards those two parts of the spectrum, if you like. So yeah, definitely a little bit more of a yeasty. You can feel the yeast kind of on the back third of your palate there, which goes together quite nicely. I do like how all of that pieces together. So yeah, it's nice and solid in my mind. But yeah, you do get, as you go towards the front half of that middle third of your palate, you will get a little bit more of oaty. You will get a wee bit of the oatiness out of it. And in fairness, you do. The further you go into the aftertaste, you will get a wee bit of creaminess out of the beer. So that does take a little bit of time to develop, I would say. But yeah, it does strike me as being a more barley malt orientated and more yeasty leaning IPA, this one. But yeah, the oats and wheat are there, but I think not as prominent as the other two things for sure. It does have a little bit of that almost farmhousey type vibe to it, which is quite nice. You'll notice underneath, if you go to the front corners of your palate and diagonally back, you'll notice on the kind of towards the sides of that middle third of your tongue, it's got a few woody undertones to it, so that's quite interesting as well. But yeah, hoppy side of things, back corners of the palate, there's definitely a wee touch of earthiness there. As you move further forward, it does develop a little bit of a herbal quality, and then as you reach the front corners of the palate, it's a little bit more kind of floral and aromatic for sure. So I like how that I do like how that pieces together in this beer actually. So yeah. The green component of this beer kind of suits it. Round the front curve of the tongue, of course, it is distinctly lighter and grassy, but I think the green side of this beer, it does lean a little bit more towards the grassy end of things, to be honest with you. It's not zesty or anything, just a soft, grassy quality, yeah. But yeah, the fruity side of this beer, I think, is potentially where the party's at with this beer. I do like the fruity side of this one. So yeah, as I always say, the front third of your palate's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. And then at the back of the front third of your palate, you've got a wee touch of a stronger kind of passion fruity note out of this one. Then as you move further forward, it gradually gets softer and brighter passion fruit. Then a bit of mango. There's a few of these kind of apricot-y papaya type vibes in there. It maybe does have a wee tiny bit of a peachy quality to it, to be fair. It does maybe have a little bit of that. Maybe a bit of pineapple as well, to be honest with you. But it's this beer really leans towards the kind of soft, tropical end of the spectrum. But then as you reach the front half of that front third of your tongue, there is just something a little bit more kind of oily about the fruity characters. And I want to say that it has got a wee bit of a kind of melony, limey sort of thing to it. And then as you reach, the front edge of the palate, I think does develop a little bit of a zestiness the further you go into the aftertaste. I wouldn't be surprised. There's something in my head telling me that this could be cashmere. Something in my head telling me that there could be a bit of cashmere in this, and it's a very distinctive hop. That one of the big cashmere growers actually is the Roynik hop farm in Slovenia. I know that Luka Roynik, who runs Green Gold Brewing Company with his hop farm, he loves that hop. They grow a lot of cashmere. Actually, down in Slovenia, and there's just something about some of his beers that I've had that is coming out in this one. It's got similar kind of vibes to that. So yeah, there's a really, I think I want to say there's a bit of cashmere in this, and I wouldn't be surprised if Idaho 7 is one of the other hops. There is a bit of juiciness to this one that makes me think, could it be a bit of Victoria's Secret or Simcoe in there as well? But I think Idaho 7 and cashmere, just something in my head telling me that these two hops are involved here. I always like playing guess the hops with these beers, as you know, but this one, it's got a nice soft tropical note to it, then it's got a little bit more of an oily, citrusy, zesty kind of thing coming out of it. But it gets a big thumbs up from me, and it's another very, very nice beer from Naparbier, and I'm not surprised at this stage. But yeah, good stuff. On the mouthfeel side of things then, so yeah, I would say that this beer's right in the middle of the spectrum. Mid-bodied, absolutely. Smooth carbonation, a little bit of wetness to it, wee bit of oiliness, but yeah, mainly quite a wet beer, this one, which you would kind of expect. You want them to be refreshing if you like. It's not really got a kind of crispness, like a sort of Pilsner malty type crispness to it. Sometimes in southern European beers you can get a little bit of crispness out of them, but I would say it's always quite interesting. A lot of the southern European IPAs and stuff, they tend to be, on the fruity side of things, they tend to be quite wet and juicy. Some of them can be a little bit more oily as well, like the Greek beers and stuff like this are a little bit more oily on the fruity side of things. But yeah, this is quite a wet and juicy New England IPA for me. So yeah, I like how the mouthfeel of this one goes together. Very soft and very wet and drinkable. On the malty side of things, this beer is quite smooth. It does develop a little bit of graininess later on. You get some of the oaty smoothness coming out of the beer, but the yeasty side of things, the yeasty side of this beer gives it a little bit of how would we say? The yeasty side of this beer gives it a little bit more of a sort of just a little bit more of a kind of graininess and dryness actually, which is quite interesting. This beer is not very high in IBUs. It must be about 25 or 30 IBUs at the absolute most. This is what you expect from the style, and the fruits, like I say, are very, very juicy. A little touch more oily on the citrusy side of things, and you do get a wee bit of zest right on the front tip of the tongue. It's a little bit more lemony and zesty and grassy on that very front edge of your palate there. But yeah, this is a lovely beer, this one, and I think Naparbier have done a very good job, so well done to them. I do hope that I can try something from the dark end of the spectrum from these guys at some point soon. But yeah, it's mainly the IPAs we tend to get from them, and those will definitely not disappoint. So yeah, I think that's a nice way to kind of round off this review then. So nice to have another Spanish beer here on the channel after a little while. I hope that you guys enjoyed my take on this one. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. Check out all my other things. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Naparbier. Do give me some other Spanish brewery recommendations, and as I said earlier, if you know a Spanish web shop that has a good selection of Spanish beers, and Portuguese too, if that is possible, do let me know about that, and I'll see if I can order a box from them and have it delivered up to Sweden. It would be awesome to review some things from different breweries in Spain. But yeah, nice to return to Naparbier. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys again soon. This one was the Green Blood New England IPA, 6.3% ABV from Naparbier in Noáin, Navarro, in the north of Spain. Slanja just now. Thank you again for watching. I'll catch you guys later. Slanja, skål, salud. See you very soon. Cheers.